Okay. Hi, Rosie. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Wendy?
Great, thank you. I'd like to start out with just having you introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, I'm Rosie Burnett. I'm an occupational therapist, and presently I'm working for the ARC of Somerset County as a consultant. I provide early intervention services to children birth through 3.
And how long have you been practicing?
20 years.
20 years.
20
And
years.
over those 20 years, I know you've taken lots of different students. Can you describe the types of students that you've had?
Sure. I've worked with occupational therapy students, level 1 and level 2, and CODA students, level 2.
Yes, and I know you've had our student, so we appreciate that. And that's how we met and why we're here today. So the first thing I'd like to ask you is, what are some innovative, creative ideas that you have done to prepare students before they come to fieldwork? And has that changed at all since COVID?
Sure. It, I'll start with the change has just been, usually we do it in person. Now it's via the computer. And what we do is we have a meeting, kind of an interview.
Mhm.
And it's usually myself, another occupational therapist, her name's Karen Kowalski. She is the director of adult services for the ARC.
Mhm.
Her and I tend to share students. So the students during the week, some days they're with Karen, some days they're with me. And also it's either the director of the ARC or the assistant director of the ARC. So we'll meet and we'll go over what's expected of the students. So typically they'll learn what time they need to arrive, what time the day's over, where they meet. When they do the early intervention, they actually meet right at my house. And when it's non-COVID, we drive together. Now it's, they have the schedule when to come onto the computer.
Right. And do you find that that process really helps the students with any anxieties that they might have?
So I feel that, when they walk into the room, because we've had a couple of, people coming together, like two OT level 1s coming together, you can see they're very stressed and there's a lot of anxiety. And by the time they leave, they're usually very confident. It just gives a sense of relief to say, oh, they're really humans too. They're people, instead
Right.
of having this, you're the fieldwork educator type of, thinking going on.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then can I ask you also, what innovative or creative types of ideas do you have for students while they're on fieldwork to support them both before COVID and with COVID?
So before COVID, usually what I would do is when the student is starting is I'll start with either 3 to 5 days, depending on the student's needs. I'll be the treating therapist, they'll be the observer. And then I'll go from whether it's the 4th day or the next week, letting the students do the hands-on with me right there to help them so they feel confident. And, they'll know, okay, if this happens, Rosie's there to help. And it works really, really well because they feel like, okay, she's not going to leave me hanging here, especially over the computer. I'll
Yeah,
be, I'll be texting, can you do this? Or we need to do this.
yeah. The luxury you have now, right? With the text.
Yeah, it doesn't interrupt the session, and they're like, okay, you'll see, I can see from where I'm sitting, they're like, yes, all right, I'm gonna do this. And it works very, very well.
So you just kind of provide them a little bit at a time, really looking at what we call, right, the just right challenge. And you kind of almost really apply that to your students by giving them what they can handle a little bit at a time.
Yeah, because really that's how they learn, by building their confidence. And if you can just give them a little hand holding instead of having them have some fear, it just makes it better
Mhm.
for them to be confident. And it provides, for me, the children with a better service too.
Yes, I would agree, and the literature supports that as well. So I love to hear that you're doing that with the students.
Yeah,
We really appreciate you joining us today, and thank you for your expertise and your dedication to our profession, and with taking our OT students and OTA students. So thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome.